Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring xSPHxWateR in the top right corner playing the blue Zerg, and in the top left we have a Barcode playing the red Terran. Both players are in Diamond. I think Barcode is higher than Water by a couple of points, but not too significant, same league and all that jazz. We are on Antigua Shipyard, which is it's a pretty well-known, pretty old map, medium ramp down into the rather exposed natural. You have a much larger ramp than normal leading up into the natural, and you have this common ground before you actually get to the base, so you can't incorporate, say, your Nexus or your CC into the wall off or pathing issues. Nice little wall right here too, a clever place that you can place down units like siege tanks to abuse one expansion or the other. You have the third, which is incredibly close by air if they're cross-spawned like this, and it's also kind of to the deficit of the person on the right side because they have to expand towards their enemy, whereas the Barcode gets to expand away from the enemy. But in reality, just because of the pathing, not too big of a difference, but it's always better to cross-spawn if you're playing the macro game. Close by air, close by ground means that the wheelhouse will be kind of in the Zerg's corner. Throw down that early pool. We're well past the 10 pool, 7 pool, 6 pool range, so no cheese coming out of water. But as we approach that 15 supply, I'll expect to see a gas and a spawning pool shortly. Or if he's feeling ballsy, he'll do this: hatch first. You could see he had the money saved up. I was just buying time. I knew it was coming. Don't tell anybody. Barcode getting his barracks, also one gas, so some early tech coming out of him. He's also hiding another bunker down on the south side. We'll see if Water has good enough instincts to check down there. Normally you don't. That barracks can be used for quite a lot of different things. Most notably, you can lift it off and plop it right down here, cutting the rush distance in half. Or you can throw down a clever add-on with that early gas. That's probably what we're going to see. Tech Lab goes down immediately on it, and Water does spot the barracks. So he knows some sort of early aggression's coming out, which is pretty bad for him because he's got that hatchery. Spawning pool is on the way though, so his defenses will be up very shortly. Water desperately trying to get out. Barcode lowering the depot just for him so that he's allowed to leave. He'd rather have that drone get out. I wonder, well, okay, that means he's making a Reaper. So a Reaper is coming out because he wanted that drone out before the Reaper finished, because if he was making a Marine, he could just finish off the drone and it would have been a net loss for Water, but he wanted the drone to leave before the first unit was done out of the barracks, so he lowered that depot. Factory coming up also, so expect to see another refinery probably. Gas heavy build with that. Okay, canceling the factory. Changing his mind. Probably going to double down on the Reapers. He's got 2 barracks, 2 tech labs, so that's going to be a lot of Reapers, and with this base spawn right here, you can drop your guys down, and then it's only about 20 seconds until they're literally in the main blowing stuff up. And with the small hop, jump and a skip into the smoke screen, those Reapers can be absolutely devastating. The spine crawler already coming up in the natural. Queens beginning to spawn, so some added protection for the mineral lines, and with their buffed range, those queens are quite formidable foes, but it really depends on how many Reapers Barcode is intending on getting out. With these 4, he's going to have that critical number that he can one-shot the drones no problem. And he's got 2 more on the way, so once those 6 come out, even the buildings are going to be very vulnerable. Command center also being built, so behind this aggression coming out of Barcode, the expansion also, on the other hand, it's going to be great. It's going to be good. Hopefully this aggression does enough damage to justify that expansion and that it doesn't leave Barcode vulnerable. Choosing to target down the spine crawler. Slow to react. Water finally pulling his queen, getting in as close as possible so that he can constantly just throw those needles down. Doing a lot of damage, but in turn getting the queen into half health. He does not want to lose that queen. He doesn't want to lose the spawning pool. The drone's still not being pulled. It looks like that spawning pool is going to go down just as the queens arrive. These 4 queens are going to push back those already severely weakened Reapers, but these queens have got to reposition down into the natural also. Spinecrawler repositioning back up, looks like into the main, bringing down 1 queen. These Reapers this expansion is very vulnerable right now. Only one queen there, doing the larva inject, but I can expect to see a lot of drones fall. We can go 30 to 28 to 27. The queen's finally getting down as the Reapers decide to start targeting down the hatchery rather than the drones count. But that was 4 drones lost. That's pretty significant. You can see that these Reapers have really paid for themselves. Command center should be done. There's 2 more on the way, so 3 total, already morphing into orbital commands once they finish up. It's interesting to see so many command centers. Barcode must be very pleased at how effective this harassment's been, and it has been very, very effective. Dual Evo chambers coming out with the Roach Warren. A lot of upgrades. Water calmly defending. He hasn't taken too much economic damage, just a handful of drones dead. But the spawning pool was really slapped to the face. Having to rebuild that severely puts him on the back foot. Wow. Reapers just continually charging in. We can see how much he's devoting to this. 8 Reapers built total. That's a lot of gas, a lot of minerals. Combat shields and stim pack both on the way though, so it looks like Barcode is done for the time making Reapers. I expect that's going to be the last one, because as it progresses, as those roaches get on the field, and we can see 4 being built right now, these Reapers are going to be increasingly less effective, less cost effective. Creep has connected the bases. We see the spine crawlers in position to interrupt them, but man, a lot of Reapers basically two-shotting that spine crawler. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. I bet those guys could go in, and with only those 3 queens to target them down, could have taken out that hatchery before it morphed into a lair. That would be devastating. They're just making sure that they're keeping the Zerg contained on that 2 base, which is it's significantly weak, especially as Barcode moves out and takes a 3rd and a 4th. It looks like he's going for that gold expand down on the south side. These Reapers have done an excellent job keeping them contained, but these roaches, once they're on the field, only 3 or 4 roaches will be able to push back that entire bundle of Reapers. But again, the units lost tab telling a completely different story, heavily in the favor of Barcode, though it's beginning to even up now that the roaches have come into play and are pushing back these Reapers. I think that's going to be it for the Reapers. Let's hear for the Reapers. Big hand to the guys. Big hand. They did a great job. Barcode has secured his 3rd. Hasn't saturated his 4th or his 3rd yet, but he's got a 2nd base completely mining, and you can see that the mineral income is heavily in his favor. He's got a starport up and a siege tank factory, cranking out the siege tank tech. On the other hand, 1-1 is just now finishing for Water, and with that upgrade of the roaches and the speed boost for the Zerg, I think it's now time for Water to do some aggression. It looks like Barcode doesn't have a standing force capable of dealing with these roaches. If Water discovers the 4th, and he just did with the taking of the llllllllll Watchtower, that force is definitely going to go down, and he's probably going to think that if Barcode has grabbed a 4th, then he's probably going to grab a 3rd, which is incredibly undefended. We can see a couple of mules have been spent there. Those are going to go down without reaping the benefit, and this orbital has better lift off. There it goes, lifting off and immediately heading down into the right corner, but Water knows that it's headed there, so he's probably going to split up his Zerglings just to deny its landing capabilities. Macro for both players is kicking into high gear. We can see level 2 attack coming out for Water's units. What have they been? Let me see. Upgrades for these guys. 0 for 0. So definitely in the favor, heavily favoring Water right now as far as upgrades go. He's finally grabbing his 3rd. He's definitely behind on bases, but even though Barcode has taken these bases, he hasn't really saturated them. Single mule. Single SCV. These guys have got to be very careful. All those Banelings coming in for some nice hits, cutting that unit force in half. The majority of the Reapers have gone down. Only 1 now remaining as the roaches are going to batter down this door. Only a single siege tank left to do some damage. Both bunkers are going to go down. Again, Barcode just doesn't have the standing force necessary to deal with this aggression. So these roaches are going to burst down the door, pulling the drones, or the SCVs already back up into the main base. I think Barcode knows that this one's completely lost. If you can look at the minimap, you can actually see the orbital command down in the bottom right corner, snaking around, just trying desperately to find a place to land, but there's so many different Zerglings in each mineral line, denying its landing capabilities. 2-2 will finish shortly. Again, it's 2-2 for melee, not the range that benefits the roaches. So it looks like the ultimate path that Water's going to take is the Zergling Infestor route, ending up with Ultralisks. Probably. It depends. Those Broodlords can be very effective in this matchup too, because this is the gap that the Broodlords have to traverse in order to get from Water's base to Barcode's base, and those Broodlords are incredibly awesome in this matchup. So many chokes for the Ultralisks too. So many high grounds for the siege tanks to hide away from the Ultralisks. So maybe Water will reconsider. Maybe he's really good with the Ultralisks, better than me. I probably would go Broodlord in this matchup, but he knows what he's doing. He's done it before. Barcode trying to trick Water into pulling into the siege tank line. He's only got 2, but they're up on the high ground, protected by buildings. Being very cost effective with his units currently heavily favoring Water, but Water did so much damage with that first attack. I think we can see that units lost have to favor him for quite a while now. Roach is taking massive hits from those siege tanks, finally deciding to pull back. I don't know if any of these are going to survive. One more volley. Only 3 Roaches make it out. Again, the 3rd and the 4th exiled orbital commands haven't been able to find a place to land. The hatchery taking its 4th down in the bottom right corner for Water, who's going to see a major boost in the mineral income with only 2 bases mining for Barcode. Barcode's feeling the sting right now of an economic blow. Infestors are going to be on the field. Centrifugal hooks for the Banelings. 1-1 just now finishing for Barcode, so Barcode is definitely behind in tech. He devoted so much to those Reapers, and they were incredibly effective, but hasn't really followed it up with any substantial aggression. He was super greedy. Excellent fungal right there. So he was super greedy, and it kind of bit him in the back foot because he didn't have a force to support him being super greedy like that. Finally securing his natural and the 3rd. When I say securing, I mean landing the buildings there. There's still nothing to defend it. Water, it looks like he's going to step back and re-macro. He's got his 3-3 on the way. A lot of drones as the 4th finally finishes. He's got his macro hatch coming up in the main. So it looks like Water is any minute now going to redevote a bunch of minerals into creating a force that can just come back and deny that 3rd. He really wants to keep Barcode on the back foot with so many mules mining at that 3rd. You can see the mineral income is heavily in Barcode's favor, even though the harvester count is in his deficit. Ultralisks coming out also. Wow, we got a hive. Great. Ultralisks being built, the Ultralisk Cavern, so maybe that's what Water's going to wait for. He's got the 3-3 coming out. It'll finish. If he starts the Carapace at the exact moment that the cavern finishes, he should get 3-3 and Carapace at the same time, and that'd be a wicked power timing attack. We'll see. Little poke here from Barcode, not much of a force, but it should secure this 4th for him down at the Golden Expand. High minerals. It's kind of ballsy. I don't know if he can support it. I don't know. We'll have to be very careful. Excellent split with the Marines. They've got their combat shields. They're stemming 1-1. Siege tanks, no upgrades there, but we have almost a 3-3 for Water. And with these infestors there, a good fungal growth down a little bundle, but it costs him 2 infestors. Gotta be very careful of those infestors. Wow, 3 out of 4 of them die almost instantly with just a handful of damage done to some Marines. I don't even think they killed any of them. Carapace was started, and it should finish at about the exact same time, so that timing attack is going to be incredible once all that finishes, and I think that is what Water is waiting for. He's got 3 Ultras on the way, probably more en route. No, it looks like the Zerglings are going to be just sweeping in here, doing quite a bit of damage, but taking so much from the siege tanks. I don't think it's going to be enough to break this line. More Marines pulling in from the back. Yeah, those excellent stem from the supporting Marines, and they push up and catch some infestors off guard. All 3 of the upgrades were just now finishing. If Water had waited just a little bit more, he could have done so much more damage. Waited for the Ultralisks. That siege tank line wasn't going anywhere, but instead he threw away all those Zerglings, which would have done so much more damage if they were supported by the Ultralisks. Ultralisks are spawning out now. There's not many Marines left. I think those Ultralisks could break this contain. I'm actually gonna, I don't do this very often, but I've got to see this entire battlefield We got quite a lot of Marines. They're behind the siege tank line right now. Got to be very careful about that because water's going to pull in. All those Marines moved way too far to the south side. Oh, the siege tanks totally caught unprepared. They go down almost instantly to the Ultralisks. Those Ultralisks just showing you exactly what 5 armor can do. They're going to finish up that entire, 6 armor. 6 armor for those Ultralisks, just doing absolutely devastating damage. Still a lot of Marines left, doing quite a bit, but all of them are going to be taken down, and this 4th expand will fall. Water finally breaking the contain, which is exactly what he needed to do. Quite a lot of... no, actually, there's no... I was hoping this was going to be fully saturated. 72 drones, I expect it to be. Oh, there's the transfer going down at the exact same time that I was mentioning it. That's cool. Once that gets saturated, once that 4th gets saturated, we're going to see the lead that Water has right now pop up to something more substantial. This 3rd really needs to be taken down for Water to feel more confident with his lead, because Barcode has such a good, solid infrastructure. Look at all that. He's got an orbital command with 130 energy. That's not doing anything right now, and once it lands, those mules will cause a huge swell. Barcode really doesn't need to push out and secure another base just yet. He's probably got another 4 minutes before he has to think about doing that, and he's got an orbital already made. I would think that moving down here and taking this one would be a far more defensible location, especially if he succeeds in taking the common ground, that Xelnaga Tower. Those rich mineral fields are fool's gold, man. They're so exposed, and the risk that you take in trying to take them it's so large that it's rarely worth it, if anything. Barcode pulling his army back at the same time Water comes in to take the Xelnaga Tower, make sure that there's no shenanigans going on there. He knows that there's no expansions at either of these places. Checking down in the bottom right corner, it looks like with a couple of Zerglings. Has Zerglings at pretty much every expansion, but with the mobility afforded by these medevacs, I don't think it'd be difficult for Barcode to secure 1 or 2 of those expansions with those orbitals. Just drop them down, throw some mules down, get a lot of money. With Water totally maxed, though, with fully upgraded Ultralisks, that's an army that is very intimidating, and I don't think Barcode wants to split up his force too much. At the same time, I guess that's exactly what he's doing. He's sending down that medevac just to, I guess, secure that place. Wow. Taking out that Zergling. That's a good call. That's a good call. I support that decision. Because you can just load up those units, flying back, sending another Marine down in that corner. 2-2 for him. A huge fight. Here we go. Water moving in on the siege tank line. A bit of exposed now. All these guys pulling all the way back into the main. Basically running right by the siege tank lines. The Banelings bursting on the wall, but once they get to the nice choke afforded by these 2 bunkers, these Ultralisks aren't as effective. Massive fungal going down. We can see that these guys are incredibly weak. Another fungal or 2 could really deal some major damage, but all those infestors go down almost instantly. After the Ultralisks fall, we can see that the supply, which was at max, fell down to about 130. And now it's back up to 170 almost immediately as Water spends all that money on a bunch of Ultralisks and a couple of Zerglings. More Zerglings are already on the field, though. 9 Ultralisks in production once they're made. Got to be very careful with this Barcode because you've got a very weak force. The medevacs don't have enough time to heal them up. And if Water were to push his advantage, he could probably take out that entire bundle of Marines. And that'd be very difficult. Behind that aggression, Barcode feels like he came out on top, and he totally did. From the resources lost tab. He's going to grab his 4th, and he's also going to push down into the 4th of Water to just see what damage he can do at this hatchery. Another swell of Marines being pulled in to support this group. It looks like, though, if we can check out the mini-map for just a second, that hatchery falls, but Water is pushing up into the main just to see what sort of damage he can do. Looks like it's going to work off into the 3rd. I think the 3rd is where the damage needs to be done because that's one of the only true mining bases that Barcode has. All this infrastructure is going to go down, but it's just a couple of barracks. No drones, no nothing. All these Banelings coming in to find a nice saturated probe line. All those probes go down 28/48 for the probes, and that's after the 4th was completely destroyed. But it looks like Barcode is going to capitalize on the advantage he has right now and pushing into the main. Got to be very careful here. He doesn't want to lose any of these tech structures, which are a bit exposed down in the natural. This hatchery is definitely going to go down already, getting targeted down, but the Zerglings so fast arrive back in town to defend them. The infestor pit goes down also. More Zerglings being spawned. It looks like, oh, Barcode doing the hot pick up all of his guys into the plethora of medevacs and retreats with minimal losses. Quite a devastating attack. 2 hatcheries go down. Devastating from the, or no, just 1 hatchery, and the infestor pit goes down. Devastating due to the loss of gas revenue and also larvae. Not so much minerals, as both places were mined out almost completely. Looks like Water feels like he has to make something happen, and he kind of does. Oh, the orbital command lifting off a bit ahead of time. These Zerglings making it in way before the Ultralisks and Banelings do. Getting cut up almost completely by these siege tanks. There's so many siege tanks, oh my goodness. Water deciding to take the hatchery down by the rich mineral field, but I think it is within range of the siege tank. I don't know, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Doing the correct thing though, Water deciding to build his hatcheries down in the 4th and the 5th, the bottom right corner. Zerglings just taking care of some of the aggression. He needs to keep Barcode contained is what needs to happen. He's done a good job of taking care of this expansion. This expansion has pretty much no minerals left, so as long as he can keep them on 2 bases and only one of those bases mining, Water should be okay. He's got so much money left over. He's got a pretty good standing army. It's significantly smaller than Barcode's, but it's still large enough to make him balk. Forcing him back. Got to be careful about this siege line though. Oh, he's moving right into those Marines. Those Marines having to back off, kiting backwards, not allowing the Banelings to do any damage. This is pretty much pure Ultralisks, which aren't that effective against Marines because they can kite back so very quickly. We can see them die almost instantly. They need to be supported by something, anything. Banelings, Infestors, Zerglings, anything else to make those Ultralisks worth more. So that was a pretty devastating loss for Barcode. Now he has the Zerglings and the Banelings out, but they weren't there with him. This 4th has gone down. I don't know if it was due to the siege tank or not. I'll have to test that later. Drone transfer just to get a base up and mining. We can see that both of the mineral incomes has fallen significantly. Drone count is in the shitter, basically. But a huge... No, this is a terrible small force of Zerglings come in with a small force of Banelings. The Zerglings trying to get behind the Marine count to hold them in place so that the Banelings can do some damage, but unfortunately it's just small little pecks at the ball. He needed a massive hit on this group of weakened Marauders and Marines, but he didn't get it. Oh, that's terrible. That's got to be so frustrating, because if those Ultralisks had survived, if they had managed to meet up with that ball of Zerglings and Banelings, they could have just absolutely wrecked them, just destroyed this entire force. But as things are now, he loses. And GG's out of the game. That's a shame. That's a great game, though. I think it was a good game. I'd like to hear what you guys think. If you have a comment, good, bad, or ugly, that'd be great to hear from you guys. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or Reddit, one way or another. I am Big and Scary. I will see you guys later.